Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanajari Yamunatira Vanajari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanajari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Nittai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nittai Gaura Hari Bol Hare Krishna. So thanks to everyone for today's class, and thanks to Subal Prabhu for giving me an opportunity to speak about Lord Krishna, about few shlokas in Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of devotees. So before proceeding further, I just wanted to confirm if my voice is coming clearly and you are able to see the screen share.
Yes, Prabhu, we can see the screen. We can hear you clearly.
Yes, Prabhu.
And many thanks, Prabhu. I just wanted to wait for a few more devotees to join. Generally, we are around 8 to 10 people every week. Probably I don't know coincidence, but today many of them are unable to join today. Some of them did send messages also. So for whoever is present here, meaning I would like to introduce Prabhuji to all of you. This is the first time Prabhu is coming in this forum to give us a lecture, but Prabhu has been a veteran in Damodar Desh, a very senior devotee, not just by years of experience, but by knowledge, and more importantly, by the application of the knowledge. Yeah. So he, by background, he is a finance manager. He has been in ISKCON for a very long time. He has given many lectures on Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. And personally, I am a big fan of Prabhu for the depth of the lectures that he goes in. But more importantly, what I like is the way he applies this knowledge in his own life. And he, his wife, children, like it is a pleasure to be with them and gather knowledge and take their association. I'm a personally big fan of Prabhu. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to hear you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for the kind words. Yeah, it is Jagan Prabhu, one of our senior devotees, always used to tell TTL, teach to learn. So whenever we share the message of Lord Krishna, the person who speaks gains as much as the others. So this is the overall concept. And His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj always used to say, what you use, you don't lose. And what you don't use, you lose. So means it is also a request for everyone who is participating in this wonderful program, that whatever we share, whatever we receive, let us also share to as many people as possible. It may be our friends, it may be our family, it may be our colleagues, whatever it is. Hare Krishna. So let us start with Pranam Mantra. So Pranam Mantra is basically done for two things. One is to pray to Lord to give the knowledge, intelligence for understanding the shlokas. And number two, to give us the determination to apply the knowledge in our lives. So all of us know that applying, being in devotional service is not so easy. But Prabhupada used to say that when someone asks this question, Prabhupada used to be called a Swami. Swami, spiritual life is very difficult. Devotion service is very difficult. Prabhupada always used to say, yes, I agree 100%, but material life is impossible. So we have a lot of difficulties in all of us face in living with the rule, the regulations and restrictions. So one of the part of the prayers is to give us the determination to apply the instructions of the shlokas in our life. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiryayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So just wanted to confirm if English is fine for everyone. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. English is preferred.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So we are into the 18th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are the title of the chapter is Maharaj Parikshit being cursed by the Brahmana son. So the context is that Sukadev Goswami is being asked as to how such a great devotee like Maharaj Parikshit. So we saw in one of the previous shlokas, 8th chapter of this canto to be precise, where when he's in the womb of his mother Uttara, Brahmastra is being sent towards him, and his mother Uttara says the famous prayers. Pahi pahi mahayogin deva deva jagatpate nanyam tvatabhayam pasye yatra mrityu parasparam. So when that prayer is done, Lord Krishna forms a protective layer around his womb. He himself comes as a protection around his womb, and then from the womb of his mother, he sees that Lord Vishnu is protecting him. So from the moment he comes outside, he goes in search for Lord Vishnu. He examines, and that is one of the reasons why he is named as Parikshit, because he's examining where I will find Lord. So we all in the previous chapter, 17th chapter, saw about his interaction with Kali Purusha. So such a devotee, how he met with his death. So these are some things which the devotees who are assembled, they were interesting to hear. So this is what the context of when this whole things began to be unraveled by Sukadeva Goswami. So that is the context of this particular shloka, where we are starting from today, the 23rd shloka of the 18th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Aham hi prashto aryamano bhavadbir. Aham hi prashto aryamano bhavadbir. Achaksha atma vagamano atrayavan. Achaksha atma vagamo atrayavan. Nabah patanti atma samam patatrinaha. Nabah patanti atma samam patatrinaha. Tata samam Vishnu gatim vipaschitaha. Tata samam Vishnu gatim aham hi prashto aryamano bhavadbir. Achaksha atma vagamo atra yavan. Nabah patanti atma samam patatrinaha. Tata samam Vishnu gatim vipaschitaha. So let us go through the word by word meanings. Aham.
Prabhu, in the interest of time, you can skip the word by word meaning. That is one.
Hare Krishna. So thank you, Prabhu.
And any devotee will
request,
speak about translation and purport, and then you can explain.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
So should I start, Prabhu?
Yeah, Prabhu. Yes.
O Rishis, who are as powerfully pure as the sun, I shall try to describe to you the transcendental pastimes of Vishnu as far as my knowledge is concerned. As the birds fly in the sky, as far as their capacity allows, so do the learned devotees describe the Lord as far as their realization allows. The supreme absolute truth is unlimited. No living being can know about the unlimited by his limited capacity. The Lord is impersonal, personal, and localized. By his impersonal feature, he is all perverting Brahman. By his localized feature, he is present in everyone's heart as a supreme soul. And by his ultimate personal feature, he is the object of transcendental loving service. By his fortunate associates, the pure devotees. The pastimes of the Lord in different features can only be estimated partially, partly by the great learned devotees. So, Suta Goswami has rightly taken this position in describing the pastimes of the Lord as far as he has realized. Factually, only the Lord himself can describe himself, and his learned devotees also can describe him as far as the Lord gives him the power of description. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Om Ajnanatimarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So this just now is going to start from the next shloka. about the pastime of Maharaj Parikshit being cursed by the Brahmana boy. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains that Lord Krishna is unlimited and we are limited. So if we try to understand Lord Krishna by our own limited knowledge, we can never do that. So to put it in context, there is a shloka in Brahma Samhita where Lord Brahma explains about this, that if we want to understand, any of us want to understand Lord Krishna, we can only understand either through him directly, for which we are all not fortunate enough, or through the authorized devotees from the disciplic succession. So the shloka says, Advaitam achyutam anadi mananta rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayauvanam cha Vedeshu Durlabha Madurlabhamatma Bhaktau Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So Brahma says, Vedeshu Durlabham Madurlabham Atma Bhaktau. So if somebody thinks that I am very intelligent, let me try to read and understand all the scriptures and then understand Lord Krishna. He says, Vedeshu Durlabham. Durlabham means difficult. If someone tries to read the scriptures and understand Lord Krishna, it is impossible. Then he says in the second half of the third line, Adurlabham Atma Bhakto. So Adurlabham is the opposite of Durlabham. So he says Adurlabham, but it becomes very easy when Atma Bhakto. So when we serve the Lord and his devotees Atmartha, it means with our own will and love. When we serve him, it becomes very easy in the sense that he reveals himself. So this is actually coming in the Chaturshloki of Bhagavad Gita also, where Lord Krishna says, Tesam satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayantite. Tesam satata yuktanam. Satata means 24/7. For someone who is continuously attached to me, who is serving me 24/7, bhajatam priti purvakam. Bhajatam means thinking about me and then talking about me. In what manner? Priti purvakam. This is something which is very important. Prabhupada used to underline this. So when he uses the word devotional service in its purport, Prabhupada used to mention the word loving devotional service. This is something which is very important. If you think, what is this? Subal Prabhu is calling me at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. Very difficult. Is Krishna consciousness? They are asking me to chant 16 rounds a day, follow 4 regulative principles. Very difficult, Prabhu. Very unfair to. So if we do it with lamentation, nothing will happen. So when we do it with their loving, with love and affection, what happens? Dadami buddhi yogam tam. So in the third line, the Lord says, I give the intelligence. What kind of the intelligence? To buy 3-bedroom villa in Dubai? No. He says, Yenamam upayantite. Using that intelligence by which you can come to me. So it's the same message which is coming here also. The point to be understood is that if we want to understand Lord and then take shelter of him, it can be done only by his mercy. So the Lord and his pure devotees only can reveal the Lord to him. That is the message in this context, shloka. So let us proceed to the next shloka. Shloka number 24-25. This is a couplet. Ekadadanurudhyamya Vicharan mrigayam vani Mrigan anugata shranta Shuditas trishito brisham Jalasayam achakshana Jalasayam achakshana pravishesha tamashramam dadarsha munimasinam santam militalocanam ekadadanurudhyamya vicharan mrigayam vane mृगाननुगतः श्रान्ता क्षुदितस्त्रिषितो भृशम् जलाशयम् अचक्षान प्रविवेश तमाश्रमम् ददर्श मुनिमासीनम् शान्तं मीलितलोचनम्. Hare Krishna, can I request Rao Prabhu to read the translation purport?
Yeah, sure. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
Translation.
Krishna.
Once upon a time, Maharaja Parikshit, while engaged in hunting in the forest with bow and arrows, became extremely fatigued, hungry, and thirsty while following the stags. While searching for a reservoir of water, he entered the hermitage of the well-known Samika Rishi and saw the sage sitting silently with closed eyes. Purport. The Supreme Lord is so kind to his pure devotees that in proper time he calls such devotees up to him and thus creates an auspicious circumstance for the devotee. Maharaja Parikshit was a pure devotee of the Lord, and there was no reason for him to become extremely fatigued, hungry, and thirsty, because a devotee of the Lord never becomes perturbed by such bodily demands. But by the desire of the Lord, even such a devotee can become apparently fatigued and thirsty just to create a situation favorable for his renunciation of worldly activities. One has to give up all attachment for worldly relations before one is able to go back to Godhead. And thus, when a devotee is too much absorbed in worldly affairs, the Lord creates a situation to cause an indifference. The Supreme Lord never forgets his pure devotee, even though he may be engaged in so called worldly affairs. Sometimes he creates an awkward situation and the devotee becomes obliged to renounce all worldly affairs. The devotee can understand by the signal of the Lord, but others take it to the unfavorable and frustrating. Maharaja Parikshit was to become the medium for the revelation of Srimad Bhagavatam by Lord Sri Krishna, as his grandfather Arjuna was the medium for the Bhagavad Gita. Had Arjuna not been taken up with the illusion of family affection by the will of the Lord, the Bhagavad Gita would not have been spoken by the Lord himself for the good of all concerned. Similarly, had Maharaja Parikshit not been fatigued, hungry, and thirsty at this time, Srimad Bhagavatam would not have been spoken by Srila Sukadeva Goswami, the prime authority of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, this is prelude to the circumstances under which Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken for the benefit of all concerned. The prelude therefore begins with the words once upon a time. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So the purport is very clear, and Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains that everything is basically the pastime of the Lord is done in a very nice way, that the circumstances are created for the pastime to happen, and so that the devotees can relish the nectar within the pastimes. And Prabhupada very nicely explained that Maharaj Parikshit was very powerful. And in addition to being powerful, he was also a devotee of the Lord. And devotees are normally not affected by bodily demands, or they are not affected by material problems. We should understand this doesn't mean that devotees get problems. We should all be very clear in this understanding. As long as we are in this material world, we are a conditioned soul. If you are not conditioned soul, we would have been in Goloka Vrindavana by now. So as long as we are in this material world, there will be this miseries. Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. So that will always be there. So, but when we are devotees of the Lord, we understand that these problems are inevitable, and we have to take them, like what has been mentioned by the Lord to Arjuna in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Sitoshana Sukha Dukkhata. So the Lord says in that shloka that these problems will come like the happiness and distress will come in our lives like the summer and winter, or winter and summer, whichever way. And since they will be coming and going, we should be mature enough to tolerate them. And when we are tolerating, we should be in the service of Lord Krishna. So when devotees are in that frame of mind, so normally they don't get affected much by material problems. They know that everything is a plan of Lord Krishna. So similarly, so Maharaj Parikshit was a very powerful person, and he doesn't get fatigued or hungry. But again, for our Srimad Bhagavatam to be spoken, this is the arrangement of the Lord, just how the inquisitiveness of Arjuna was prelude for revealing the Bhagavad Gita. So this is the message. Let us go to the next shloka, shloka number 26. Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 18th chapter, shloka number 26. Pratiruddhendriya prana manobuddhim uparatam stanatrayat param praptam brahmabhutam avikriyam pratiruddhendriya prana manobuddhim uparatam stanatrayat param praptam brahmabhutam avikriyam. Hare Krishna. Can I request Sushil Prabhu to read the translation purport?
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
The Muni's sense organs, breath, mind, and intelligence were all restrained from material activities, and he was situated in a trance apart from the three, that is, wakefulness, dream, and unconsciousness, having achieved a transcendental position qualitatively equal to the Supreme Absolute. It appears that the Muni, in whose hermitage the king entered, was in yogic trance. The transcendental position is attained by three processes, namely the process of Gyan or theoretical knowledge of transcendence, the process of Yoga or factual realization of trance by manipulation of the physiological and physiological functions of the body, psychological and physiological functions of the body, and the most approved process of bhakti yoga or the engagement of senses in the devotional service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita also, we have the information of the gradual development of perception from matter to a living entity. Our material mind and body develop from the living entity, the soul, and being influenced by the three qualities of matter, we forget our real identity. The Gyan process theoretically speculates about the reality of the soul, but Bhakti Yoga factually engages the spirit soul in activities. The perception of matter is transcended to still subtler stages of the senses. The senses are transcended to the subtlest mind and then to breathing activities and gradually to intelligence. Beyond intelligence, the living soul is realized by the mechanical activities of the yoga system or practice of meditation, restraining the senses, regulating the breathing system, and applying intelligence to rise to the transcendental position. This trance stops all material activities of the body. The king saw the Muni in that position. He also saw the Muni as follows. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So, Prabhupada describes when Maharaj Parikshit entered the hermit of the Muni, he was in meditation, and Prabhupada nicely explains there are about the three processes of yoga. Actually, there are four: Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. So Karma Yoga, the problem is that it has these 4 steps, where it starts from attaining wealth and then using it in the service, and then getting the interest in liberation. The transition from the dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Dharma means doing pious activities. Artha is getting wealth. Moksha is kama is enjoying that wealth, and then moksha is once we become frustrated, we start looking for Lord. So the problem in karma yoga, or it is also called as karma kanda in Vedic these things. So the Lord describes karma yoga in the 3rd chapter. So where it can be, it is a form of attaining the Lord through a renunciation of the results of our activities to the Lord. The problem in that is that it is very long, drawn out process, and the transition from kama to moksha is very difficult in Kali Yuga. So then the remaining 3 processes are briefly told. Jnana Yoga means trying to understand Lord Krishna by reading all the scriptures and understanding, or by speculation, trial and error. Since the Lord is unlimited, that process is not possible. Then Dhyana Yoga is basically meditating and trying to understand the Lord and become one with Him. So that is not possible. It was possible in Satya Yuga, but it is not the process of attaining the Lord in Kali Yuga. So the Kali Yuga, the approved process is Bhakti Yoga, which is what is being done now in ISKCON, where we serve the Lord and then go back home, back to His lotus feet, by remembering only Him alone when our soul leaves the body. As Bhagavad Gita, as Lord Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram. What is that? I forgot the 3rd line. Yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samsayah. The Lord says that this is the formula for going back to His lotus feet. The Lord Krishna says that if I remember 99.99% Krishna and 0.01% Aishwarya Rai or whatever it is, we are failed. So the pass mark is 100%. So for doing that, we need to start this process from a very early age. So that is the Bhakti Yoga, which is being propagated, which was propagated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the best process, which is spearheaded by the chanting of the holy name, and then also followed by the devotees association and all those 5 elements. There are 5 elements of this Bhakti Yoga, which is called as Panchanga Vidhi. The first and the foremost is the chanting of the holy names. Second is association of devotees. Third is reading and understanding of scriptures in devotees association. 4 is honoring Krishna Prasadam. And 5th is serving in Dham, or having altar in our home and then serving the deities. So this is called as Panchanga Vidhi, which is stated in Narada Pancharatrika Vidhi. So these 5 limbs of devotional service, if you do, this is called as Bhakti Yoga. And Srila Prabhupada told that this is told very clearly that this is the only yoga which is possible for this Kali Yuga. So when we do this, what happens? Gradually, we become detached from material circumstances and more attached to Krishna. So this is what is called as material spiritual balance. Material spiritual balance is that we don't keep one leg in material and one leg in spiritual. Material spiritual balance is that we reduce the material attachment and we increase the spiritual attachment. So this is gradually proceeding to trance. Trance doesn't mean that in Kali Yuga, in our circumstances, trance doesn't mean like what that Muni has done. No. Trance means that gradually detaching ourselves from the material world and then gradually getting attached to Krishna. In simple terms, dedicating our lives to the service of Lord Krishna, as simple as that, in whatever way we can. Somebody can do it by cooking, somebody can do it by collecting finance, somebody can do it by keeping on talking like me. So like that, in whatever capability we can do that. So when we do that, we will gradually attain the stage of trance, or they call it a samadhi. Samadhi doesn't mean that our life stops. Samadhi means that we are completely absorbed in the service of Lord Krishna. Let us go to the next shloka. Shloka number 27. Viprakirna jata channam, Viprakirna jata channam, Rauravena jinena cha, Rauravena jinena cha, Vishushyattalurudakam, Vishushyattalurudakam, Tatha bhutam ayachata, Tatha bhutam ayachata, Viprakirna jata channam, Rauravena jinena cha, Vishushyattalurudakam, Tatha bhutam ayachata. Hare Krishna. Can I request Sumati Mataji to read the translation and purport? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Purport, translation and purport by Prabhupada. Jai Shri Prabhupada. The sage in meditation was covered by the skin of stag, and long compressed hair was scattered all over him. The king, whose palate was dry from thirst, asked him for water. Purport. The king, being thirsty, asked the sage for water. That such a great devotee and king asked for water from a sage absorbed in trance was certainly providential. Otherwise, there was no chance of such a unique happening. Maharaja Parikshit was thus placed in an awkward position so that gradually Srimad Bhagavatam could be revealed. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So, in addition to Maharaj Parikshit getting thirsty and tired, the place where Maharaj Parikshit entered happened to be a hermitage, and within that hermitage, the sage who was in that hermitage at that point of time, he is in meditation, and at that point of time, there is nobody else other than the sage who is there. So this is a kind of a very rare coincidence, and as Srila Prabhupada explained, so this is a very kind of a very unique circumstance which is being made by the Lord so that Srimad Bhagavatam could be revealed. So let us proceed to the next shloka, shloka number 28. Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 18th chapter, shloka number 28. Alabdha trina bhumi adir, Alabdha trina bhumi adir, Asampraptargya sansunritaha, Asampraptyargya sunritaha, Avajñatam ivatmanam, Avajñatam ivatmanam, Manyamanaschukopaha, Manyamanaschukopaha, Alabdha trina bhumi adir, Asampraptargya sunritaha, Avajñatam ivatmanam, Manyamanaschukopaha. Hare Krishna. Can I request Uday Prabhu to read the translation and purport? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
The king, not received by any formal welcome, by means of being offered a seat, place, water, and sweet addresses, consider himself neglected, and so thinking, he became angry. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. The law of reception in the codes of the Vedic principles states that even if any enemy is received at home, he must be received with all respects. He should not be given a chance to understand that he has come into the house of an enemy. When Lord Krishna, accompanied by Arjuna and Bhima, approached Jesanda in Magad. The respectable enemies were given a royal. The respectable enemies were given a royal reception by King Jarsanda. The guest enemy, namely Bhima, was to fight with Jarsanda, and yet they were given a grand reception. At night, they used to sit down together as friends and guests, and in the day, they used to fight, risking life and death. That was the law of reception. The reception law enjoins that a poor man who has nothing to offer his guest should be good enough to offer a straw mat for sitting, a glass of water for drinking, and some sweet words. Therefore, to receive a guest, either friend or foe, there is no expense. It is only a question of good manners. When Maharaj Parikshit entered the door of Simakara's Rishi, he did not expect a royal reception by the Rishi, because he knew the saints and the Rishis are not materially rich men. But he never expected that a seat of straw, a glass of water, and some sweet words would be denied to him. He was not an ordinary guest, nor was he an enemy of the Rishi. And therefore, the cold reception by the Rishi astonished the king greatly. As a matter of fact, the king was right to get angry with the Rishi when he needed a glass of water very badly. To become angry is such a grave situation was not unnatural for the king, but because the king himself was not less than a great saint, his becoming angry and taking action was astonishing. So it must be accepted that it was so obtained by the supreme will of the Lord. The king was a great devotee of the Lord, and the saint was also as good as the king. But by the will of the Lord, the circumstances were so created that they became ways to the king's becoming unattached to family connections and governmental activity, and thus becoming a completely surrendered soul onto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. The merciful Lord sometimes creates such awkward positions for his pure devotees in order to drag them towards himself for the mere of material existence. But outwardly, the situations appear to be frustrating to the devotees. The devotees of the Lord are always under the protection of the Lord, and in any condition, frustration or success, the Lord is supreme guide of the devotees. The pure devotees therefore accept all conditions of frustration as blessings from the Lord. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So when Maharaj Parikshit was not welcomed, or even he was not even asked to sit or being given a glass of water when he was thirsty, he became angry. So Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains 2 or 3 things in this purport. First is that how we should receive someone who comes into our place. And he gives example of what happened during even when Lord Krishna approached Jarasandha, and how they were received. Krishna and Arjuna, how they were received, though they were enemies and though they were about to fight. There are many such examples during the course of the war, where after the sunset, when the war stops for the day, the battle stops for the day, the warring parties, Kauravas and Pandavas, have gathered, they met, and then they used to eat together. But from the next day, they will fight. So this is the Vedic way of receiving enemies. So even enemies. But in this particular case, Maharaj Parikshit was not an enemy of Samika Rishi. And since Maharaj Parikshit knew that Samika Rishi was a sage and he is not going to be materially rich, and I am not going to get a warm welcome or all those things. But he kind of expected at least that I will be asked to sit, I will be asked to give some kind of a mat with what shall I say, some water to drink. But even that was not given. And when that is not given, a normal person can become angry. But Maharaj Parikshit was already a devotee, and he saw that the Rishi, Samika Rishi, was in meditation. So a devotee, when he sees that even though he is completely exhausted, when he sees that the other person is in meditation, he should not get angry. But again, Srila Prabhupada explains that this happened by the will of the Lord, because he's making devotees give up the material attachment to the material world as quickly as possible. So this happens to each and every one of us. So even though we are so-called devotees and servants of Lord, we like to call ourselves as servants of Lord Krishna, but still we don't give up our attachment to material world so easily. Whether it is our job, whether it is our family, whether it is even the studies of our children, the jobs of our children, the marriage of our children, whom they marry, the family of the children, the family of those whom our children marry. So we are into so much of I don't know what I should call it, whether I should call it due diligence or whatever it is. In so many ways, we become attached to this material world from different angles, from different dimensions, from different perspectives. Though we want to detach, we know we have read Bhagavad Gita, we are into this Bhagavatam in the association of devotees. We want to give up the attachment, but we find it very difficult to give up the attachment. We find practically very difficult to do that. So Srila Prabhupada explains that for those who want to give up the detachment, who want to become detached, but for some reason or the other, they are not able to detach, for them also, Lord creates circumstances by which they become completely frustrated and then they become attached. So Maharaj Parikshit, it was not necessary to go into such a particular situation, but he wanted the Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna, the Lord wanted Srimad Bhagavatam to be revealed quickly. So that was one of the reasons why he made all this arrangement of so much of coincidence and getting angry and all those things. So in the last 2 lines, Srila Prabhupada explains. So what is the takeaway for us from this particular shloka? Prabhupada explains, the merciful Lord sometimes creates awkward positions for his devotees in order to drag them towards himself from the mire of material existence. Outwardly, the situations appear to be frustrating to the devotees. So we are in Damodar Desh Yatra or Dubai or whatever it is. What kind of frustrating or awkward positions this is being talked about? This may be losing our job. This may be getting transferred to a place which we don't like. This may be our children not getting admission to the college or university, whatever we want, or the course what we want. This may be so many things. In short, this may be things which we don't want or which we think that they are not good for us. So outwardly, they may become frustrating. So then Srila Prabhupada says, the devotees of the Lord are always under the protection of the Lord, and in any condition, the Lord is the supreme guide for the devotees. So whether it is frustration or whether it is success, the Lord is the supreme guide. The devotees, the pure devotees, therefore accept all conditions of frustration as blessings from the Lord. So this is the takeaway for us, that the situation which is being faced by Maharaj Parikshit will come to each and every one of us in one way or the other in our lives. Not once in a time, it will come regularly. That is why it is called, this world is called as Dukkalayam Ashashvatam. So this kind of frustration, Maharaj Parikshit got once. We are in Kali Yuga, we will get it regularly. So the thing is that we should accept all the conditions of frustration as blessings from the Lord. Why? Because the Lord knows what is good for us. So there was a lecture by His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj, where he summarized this whole thing in one simple, I don't know what we, in a simple sentence. Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj said, we know today and then plan for tomorrow. Lord Krishna knows tomorrow and plans our today. So this is the difference between us and Lord Krishna. So based on whatever we know today with our limited knowledge, we try to plan our tomorrow, and we somehow think that we are more intelligent, and what we think, what we plan is actually good for us. Sometimes maybe, but most of the times not. So Lord Krishna knows what is good for us because he knows our tomorrow, and based on that he plans our today. And it is in our best interest that we accept this as a Lord's plan. And why the Lord's plan is always good? Because Lord is Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. He is a well-wisher of the Lord. He is a well-wisher of everyone. Sorry, the Lord is a well-wisher of everyone. So you may say, Prabhu, I am the well-wisher of my wife. Matajis may say, I am the well-wisher of my husband. Both Prabhujis and Matajis may say, I am the well-wisher of my family. I am the well-wisher of my children. So many things. Let us say that some of our friends are in India. Will we leave our job in Dubai and then go there and help them? I will not do for sure. But the Lord leaves his dham. What is his dham? Is it a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment or villa like you have where you and me are staying? No. Lord Brahma describes the dham of Lord Krishna in Brahma Samhita. It says, Chintamani pragarasatma sukalpa vriksha laksha vriteshu surabhi rabipalayantam Lakshmi sahasra sadasambhrama sevyamanam Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. The Lord says, Chintamani prakara. The Lord's Goloka Dham is paved. The pavement is with Chintamani, not our 6x8 stones. Then the next is Kalpa Vriksha. The desert trees are there all over. Whatever you ask, it will come. Chintamani, Kalpavriksha, Lakshavrteshu Surabhir. So Surabhi cows are there, and then lakhs of Surabhi cows are there, which give unlimited milk, which gives nectar. The nectar is that if you drink nectar, there is no death. Such kind of nectar it gives. Then it says, Lakshmi Sahasra Sada Sambrama Sevyamanam. Sahasra means 1,000, Sada means 100, hundreds of thousands means lakhs of Lakshmi are lining up, they are in queue, Sambrama Sevyamanam, just to serve him. Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That I offer my obeisances to that Lord Govinda. So that Lord Krishna, leaving his Golokadam, is coming as a super soul, Paramatma, inside a worm which is inside a stool. Why? Just to see whether that Atma is looking back to me for what? For taking that soul back home, back to Godhead. So can anyone be a well-wisher, better well-wisher than Lord Krishna? Absolutely not. So this is why we need to understand whatever situations are there, it may be outwardly frustrating, but we need to understand that it is a plan of Lord Krishna. Let us move to the next shloka. Shloka number 29. Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 18th chapter, shloka number 29. Abhutapurva sahasa, Abhutapurva sahasa, Kshutribhyam ardidatmanah, Kshutribhyam ardidatmanah, Brahmanam prati abhut brahman, Brahmanam prati abhut brahman, Matsaro manyurevacha, Matsaro manyurevacha, Abhuta pura sahasa, Abhuta pura sahasa, Kshatrabhyam ardidatmanah, Brahmanam prati abhut brahman, Matsaro manyurevacha.
I will read, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
O Brahmanas, the circumstances having distressed him with extreme hunger and thirst, the king directed toward the sage his anger and envy, which he had never before directed towards a Brahman. For a king like Maharaj Parikshit to become angry and envious, especially at a sage and Brahman, was undoubtedly unprecedented. The king knew well that the Brahmins, sages, children, women, and old men are always beyond the jurisdiction of punishment. Similarly, the king, even though he commits a great mistake, is never to be considered a wrongdoer. But in this case, Maharaj Parikshit became angry and envious at the sage due to his thirst and hunger, and by the will of the Lord. The king was right to punish his subject for coldly receiving him or neglecting him, but because the culprit was a sage and a Brahman, it was unprecedented. As the Lord is never envious of anyone, so also the Lord's devotees is never envious of anyone. The only jurisdiction for Maharaj Parikshit's behavior is that it was ordained by the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So again, this shloka very clearly tells that though in the circumstances he was distressed with hunger and thirst, the person who was in front of him was not an ordinary person. He was actually a sage. And in the Vedic circumstances, it was very clearly mentioned that when there is any punishment, the Brahmanas, the sages, the children, women, and old men are always beyond punishment. They are not punished. So we knew, we have seen that even Dhritarashtra, whose 100 sons was killed, but who did so much of planning, who tried to kill the Pandavas in so many ways, when the battle was finished, the same Pandavas gave shelter to Dhritarashtra. So it's a different thing that Vidura came and then explained that you are like a dog in the house of Bhima, whom you try to kill, and the Pandavas whom you try to kill in so many ways. Don't you have shame? Don't you have any kind of thing? How are you? Why are you attached to this palace? And all those things, he gave him that spiritual knowledge, based on which he understood that he was in that Varnashrama stage, and he had to leave the palace, which he did. But that's a different thing. But in terms of he is being an old man, and he is not being having eyes, even though he tried to kill the Pandavas, but the Pandavas protected them even after the war. So this is the Vedic culture, where in those times they were beyond the punishment. And here the king, in addition to knowing that he was a sage, he also saw that he was in meditation. So under any circumstances, he should not have become angry, but he became. So again, this is a arrangement of the Lord. And Srila Prabhupada says, just like the Lord is never envious of anyone, the devotee is also never envious of anyone. This is also one of the takeaways for us from this shloka, that this is the difference between devotees and normal people. So when we see the material world, we see lots of jealousy, lots of backbiting going on, and lots of rumor mongering, even things which are not correct, incorrect opinions being formed about people. So all this, the devotees, they don't engage. So it is said that devotees are para dukha dukhi, means if someone is suffering, the devotees become very they become very sad. They don't like others suffering. So we see in the material world, when something bad happens, for example, there's a war going on in Ukraine, earthquake happens in so many places. If earthquake happens, or let us say some terrorist blast happens, or somewhere in some school or place, some gunman comes and then opens fire, killing 10 or 15 people, anything bad happens, it remains in the breaking news or hot news for 2 to 3 days. Why is it so? Though people are suffering, but others somehow like to watch it. So there is some kind of a sadism in people there, where we get pleasure from watching somebody else suffer. So but when it comes to devotees, they when they see anyone suffer, they are definitely not happy, and they are very sad, and they try to see that what they can do for their benefit. We need to understand that this is not from the material perspective, this is from the spiritual perspective, which means that when they see that they are going around suffering in this material world, the devotees try to bring them under the shelter of Lord Krishna and his devotees. So this is one of the main qualities of devotees, which is also clearly mentioned in the 18th chapter of Lord Krishna, where he says, anyone who is spreading my message is the dearest to me. So we need to take this instruction from Lord Krishna to our hearts and try to bring as many people as possible into Lord Krishna's service. So today, if I can see, there are around 10 participants. What we need to do is that each and every one of us should try to bring one more into the next class. So that what happens, Lord Krishna says that when we bring someone else to his lotus feet, he gives us commission. What that commission is called? That commission is called that we become Margadashaka Guru. So that commission doesn't become zero when our life ends. So it is there, it is an eternal commission. So our normal commission becomes zero when we use it. So Lord Krishna's Margadarshaka Guru commission is eternal. So by not being envious, by trying to save others from suffering, what does it mean? It means that we should share this message which we got by the devotees' mercy with other people so that they also come into the shelter of Lord Krishna. So this kind of situation, in this again Srila Prabhupada explains that the situation is basically a plan of Lord Krishna. Let us go into the next shloka, shloka number 30. Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 18th chapter, shloka number 30. Satu Brahma Rishe Ramse, Satu Brahma Rishe Ramse, Gatasum Uragam Rusha, Gatasum Uragam Rusha, Vinirgacham Danuskotya, Vinirgachan Danuskotya, Nidaya Puramagata, Nidaya Puramagata, Satu Brahma Rishe Ramse, Gatasum Uragam Rusha, Vinirgacham Danuskotya, Nidaya Puramagata.
Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Translation.
Prabhu.
While leaving, the king, being so insulted, picked up lifeless snake with his bow and angrily placed it on the shoulder of the sage. Then he returned to his palace. Purport. The king thus treated the sage tit for tat, although he was never accustomed to such silly actions. By the will of the Lord, the king, while going away, found a dead snake in front of him, and he thought that the sage who had coldly received him thus might be coldly rewarded by being offered a garland of a dead snake. In the ordinary course of dealing, this was not very unnatural, but in the case of Maharaja Parikshit's dealing with a Brahmana sage, this was certainly unprecedented. It is so happened by the will of the Lord. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So, again, while leaving the hermit, so at the just when he was leaving, he saw the dead snake. So what he did, he picked up the dead snake and put it around the shoulder of the sage like a garland. Then he went back. So we saw in the previous shlokas already there were so many coincidences. First of all, Maharaj Parikshit, who was such a strong personality, powerful personality, and in addition to being a powerful personality, he was also a devotee. And normally they don't become fatigued or thirsty. He became fatigued, number one. Number two, when Maharaj Parikshit became fatigued, the nearest place where he entered also happened to be a hermitage. So this is the second coincidence. And within that hermitage, he found a sage who was actually in meditation. So he didn't find, unfortunately, he was not available to receive. He was actually in meditation. So there is a third coincidence which we saw in the previous shlokas till the last one. Now there is one more coincidence that though Maharaj Parikshit was completely frustrated, he became angry, and when he was about to leave, while leaving, he saw the dead snake. So this is, and he had some kind of an instrument to show his anger towards the sage. For example, if the dead snake was not there, he would have just become angry and then he would have left. No. So by the will of the Lord, Maharaj Parikshit found a dead snake, which he thought that it will be kind of a tit for tat. It will be like fitting a rebuttal to the cold reception which was given by the sage. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that in addition to all those three coincidences which we saw before, Maharaj Parikshit also noticed a dead snake when he was leaving. So this is another coincidence, so that the Bhagavatam gets revealed. Let us go to the next shloka, shloka number 31, which is our last shloka for today. Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 18th chapter, shloka number 31. Yesa kim nibrata sesha, yesa kim nibrata sesha, karano milite kshana, karano milite kshana, mrisha samadhiraho swe, mrisha samadhiraho swe, kim nu syat kshatra bandhubihi, kim nu syat kshatra bandhubihi, yesa kim nibrata sesha, karano milite kshanaha, mrisa samadhiraho swe, kim nu syat kshatra bandhubihi. Hare Krishna. Can I request Smita Mataji to read the translation and purport? Smita Mataji, are you there? Hare Krishna.
Yes, I am there, but I don't have Bhagavat with me, sir. I'm
Okay.
just.
I'll read. I'll read.
Okay.
I'll
Okay,
read
okay.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Mataji. Okay, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ji. Jai Srila Prabhupada ji. Translation. Upon returning, he began to contemplate and argue within himself whether the sage had actually been in meditation, with senses concentrated and eyes closed, or whether he had just been feigning trance just to avoid receiving a lower Kshatriya. Purport. The king, being a devotee of the Lord, did not approve to his own action, and thus he began to wonder whether the sage was really in a trance or was just pretending in order to avoid receiving the king, who was Kshatriya and therefore lower in rank. Repentance comes in the mind of a good soul as soon as he commits something wrong. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Srila Jiva Goswami do not believe that the king's action was due to his past misdeeds. The arrangement was so made by the Lord just to call the king back home, back to Godhead. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, the plan was made by the will of the Lord, and by the will of the Lord, the situation of frustration was created. The plan was that for his so-called misdeed, the king could be cursed by an inexperienced Brahmana boy infected by the influence of Kali, and thus the king would leave his hearth and home for good. His connection with Sri Sukadev Goswami would enable the presentation of the great Srimad Bhagavatam, which is considered to be the book incarnation of the Lord. This book incarnation of the Lord gives much fascinating information of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, like his Ras Leela with the spiritual cowherd damsels of Vrajabhumi. This specific pastimes of the Lord has a special significance because anyone who properly learns about this particular pastime of the Lord will certainly be dissuaded from mundane sex desire and be placed on the path of sublime devotional service to the Lord. The pure devotee's mundane frustration is meant to elevate the devotee to a higher transcendental position. By placing Arjuna and the Pandavas in frustration due to the intrigue of their cousin brothers, the prelude of the battle of Kurukshetra was created by the Lord. This was to incarnate the sound representative of the Lord, Bhagavad Gita. So, by placing King Parikshit in an awkward position, the incarnation of Srimad Bhagavatam was created by the will of the Lord. Being distressed by hunger and thirst was only a show, because the king endured much, even in the womb of his mother. He was never disturbed by the glaring heat of the Brahmastra released by Ashwatthama. The king's distressed condition was certainly unprecedented. The devotees like Maharaja Parikshit are powerful enough to forbear such distresses by the will of the Lord, and they are never disturbed. The situation in this case was therefore all planned by the Lord. So it's Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So, again, the message is very clear that after returning to his palace, Maharaj Parikshit was kind of thinking about what happened, and he thought whether the sage was really in meditation or he was kind of faking it. So the normally Srila Prabhupada explains in the first paragraph of the purport. So if a devotee has done something wrong, the minimum the devotee would do to at least is to realize what he has done and at least mentally repent for it. But on the other hand, this shloka says that instead of doing such, he was actually thinking, Maharaj Parikshit was actually thinking whether the sage was really in meditation or whether he was faking the meditation just so that he doesn't want to receive Kshatriya. And even Maharaj Parikshit thought that he did so because he is a Brahman and I am a Kshatriya. And in the Varnas, Kshatriya is one step lower than Brahmanas. These are all in the Vedic, in the previous yugas. In Kali Yuga, we need to be very clear. These Varnas no longer apply. Kalau Sambhav Sudraha. Everyone in Kali Yuga is a Shudra. So in that yuga, at that time, he was thinking that since I am a Kshatriya, which is one step lower than Brahmana in Varna, did he kind of fake his meditation just so that he doesn't receive me? So this kind of thoughts normally does not appear to devotees. And but it kind of appeared, and also it is very clearly mentioned that the example of Bhagavad Gita is given. So when Arjuna saw all his relatives in front of him in the battlefield, he became so frustrated. So there is very nice description given in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that his whole body, his hands started shivering, his whole body became trembling, his mouth became very thirsty, his eyes became sore, and his intelligence did not function and all those things. So he came into so much of frustration. So after coming into so much of frustration, he said, Sishyasteham. So I am your disciple, he says in 2.7. So then after that, once he declares that he is his disciple, then Lord Krishna takes over. So he puts him into so much of frustration so that the groundwork for revealing Bhagavad Gita is laid. Similarly, the groundwork for revealing Srimad Bhagavatam is laid by the acts of Maharaj Parikshit being cursed by the Brahman boy. So today we saw the 9 shlokas starting from 23 till 31. So the overarching message of the shloka is that all the whatever happens in our lives is actually the mercy of Lord Krishna. There's a plan of Lord Krishna which we from our limited intelligence may not be maybe thinking that it is very frustrating. So there is a very nice shloka, which is actually coming in the 10th canto, 88th chapter, like when we are really devotees, how the Lord creates circumstances so that sometimes to increase our frustration and go back to Godhead. Lord Krishna says, Sri Bhagavanu Vacha Yasyaham Anugrahnami Harisheta Dhanam Sanai Tato Dhanam Tyajanti Asya Swajana Dukkha Dukkitam. The personality of Godhead said, if I especially favor someone, I gradually deprive him of his wealth. Then the relatives and friends of such a poverty-stricken man abandon him. In this way, he suffers one distress after another. So in our lives also, we face difficult circumstances. Why Lord Krishna has done this to me? So when we think of that, we need to remember this shloka that everything is a plan of the Lord, so that we increase our attachment to Lord Krishna. So when such kind of things happen, what should be our approach and how should we go through that? So this is told by Lord Brahma in the 14th chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which comes immediately after the Brahma Vimohan Leela. So Brahmaji says, Tatte anukampam susamikshamano bhunjana yevatma kritam vipakam hridvagvapurbir vidadan namaste jivetayo mukti pade sadaya bhak. My dear Lord, one who earnestly wait for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances within his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. So in this shloka, we should read the second line first. Bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam. So, Bhunjana evatma. So whatever we are going through today, how has it come? Kritam vipakam. Because of whatever misdeeds we have done in our past, it has just not landed in our lap. So it is because of sins which we have done in which deeds which we have done in the past. So there was a there was a movie called Ye Zindagi, where Sanjeev Kapoor at the end of his life, even though he is rich, he is not able to eat anything. He prays to Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna appears in front of him, and then he asks, "Why am I suffering?" So the Lord Krishna says, "Take one of your tablets and then read the name." So Sanjeev Kapoor reads, "Ladder my sin." So he says, "Yes, it is because of your sin." Then read the next tablet. He says, "Erythromycin." So Krishna says, "Yes, my sin. It is because of your sin." So whatever we are going through today, we should understand. So it is it is the result of past misdeeds. But the result is reduced. The punishment is reduced as a mercy from Lord Krishna. Then what we should do? Tatte anukampam. Anukampam means mercy. We should consider it as a mercy of our Lord that we have done more misdeeds, but we have got less punishment. This is the mercy of the Lord. Then what we should do? Susanikshamano. We should tolerate these problems. Then it says, while tolerating, what should be our attitude? We should keep on grumbling. We should keep on lamenting. No, it says, Hridvagvapurbir vidadan namaste. With our heart. Hrid means heart. Vak means our words. Means continuously chanting the names and then telling about the message of Lord Krishna to others. Vapu, physically, any kind of physical service. Vidadan namaste. With our heart, with our words, with our body, we should continuously serve the Lord. Jive tayo. That particular jiva, that particular living entity, when he accepts whatever problems he is going through is because of past misdeeds, and when he is tolerating that, he also understands that the punishment is less as a mercy of the Lord, and while undergoing these problems, while facing these problems, he continuously serves the Lord by his heart, by his words, and by his physique. Jivetayo, that particular living entity, mukti pade, liberation, dayabak, becomes that person's right. It is no longer a mercy, it is a right. So this is one of the key takeaways for us from these 9 shlokas which we taught today. The situation which Maharaj Parikshit has gone through will happen to each and every one of us. Not once in a timeline, it will happen, it will keep happening again and again. So we need to take that it is a plan of the Lord, and whatever we are facing, we should get more punishment, but the Lord has reduced our punishment. And with that, if we continue to serve him, liberation will become our right. So Srila Prabhupada has guaranteed that in this lifetime itself, I give the guarantee that we can go back home, back to Godhead. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Hare Krishna, thank you once again for giving me the opportunity to speak about Lord Krishna, to speak a few shlokas in Srimad Bhagavatam. So if anybody has any comments or any doubts, we will try to understand it by the mercy of the Lord and Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual master. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so
प्रभु
much.
आपने भक्ति योग के
Fantastic
4
talk,
स्टेप्स
Prabhu.
बताए थे.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, Sushil Prabhu, please continue.
भक्ति योग के 4 कुछ स्टेप्स बताए थे, जरा कैन यू रिपीट इट?
Okay, they are not steps. There are 9 steps. There are
नहीं,
4 types of yoga: karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, bhakti yoga. 4 types of yoga, not the
Yeah.
4 steps.
That,
Prabhu, you said Panchanga Vidina, chanting
Yes,
the
Prabhu.
holy name, devotees association, read and understand scriptures, honoring prasadam, and the 5th one, Prabhuji?
Either serving the Lord in his dham or doing deity service with our altar at home.
Okay.
Any one of the 2.
these 5 only I wanted: holy name, and
Okay. You wanted about you are asking about the Panchanga Vidhi. So,
Yeah.
Bhakti Yoga, how we can do Bhakti Yoga in our life, practically how we can do it in our life. So this is told in the Narada Pancharatrika Vidhi, and as an institution, Srila Prabhupada has given us an institution to practice all these 5 limbs of devotional service on a daily basis. Chant the holy names of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra 16 times a day, and then be in the association of devotees. If you think that I will sit in my home, chant the names, read the scriptures, honor Krishna Prasad, and do deity altar service at my home, and go back home, go back to Godhead at the end of this life, we are completely mistaken. Within no time we will fall. That is the reason why the 2nd limb is the association of devotees. The 3rd limb is reading the scriptures, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, in the association of devotees. 4th is honoring Krishna Prasad, and then 5th is doing service to Lord in his dham or doing deity service in his altar. So all the 5 are kind of purifying different elements of our elements of us. Chanting the holy name purifies our mind. Being in the association of devotees purifies our heart. Chanting reading the scriptures in the association of devotees gives us knowledge, which purifies our intelligence. Honoring the Krishna Prasadam, it is said in the Bhagavad Gita 3rd chapter, shloka number 16 onwards, it is purifying the tissues of our body. And then serving the Lord in his dham or doing deity service in our altar is a physical service, because doing deity service in our home, we need to get up at 4 o'clock, do this thing, get up ready. The same thing we need to do in Gaurati. It requires considerable amount of physical discipline. So this is a physical austerity. So all the elements of our living entity, they are being covered by this Panchanga Vidhi. And when we do that with love, not with lamentation, with love, we can go back home, back to Godhead in this generation. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you so much for the class, Prabhuji. Very nice class.
Thank you,
I have a
Mataji.
small doubt in my mind, like Krishna gave us opportunity many times in the past, like for good opportunities, but we, because of our ego or of our foolishness, we just let go those opportunities. Those opportunities may not, or maybe they come in the future, but because of that, the life stops, like something stops, like that work stops, and we are not able to accomplish that in future. So how should we take that? Like it is God's will, or it's our foolishness, or how to take that, Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. So this happens in each and every one of us, each and every one of our lives. So one of the classic examples is Dhritarashtra. So when his 100 sons was killed, so he asked Lord Krishna as to why I am put in such a situation that in front of my eyes, my 100 sons were killed. So Lord Krishna explained that 51 lives before, when you are on a hunting expedition, with your arrow, you pierced the eye of a mother bird, and then your arrow set fire to her nest, in which there were 100 of her bird and all of them died. So you had to get the punishment for this, and that is the reason why you have done this. Then Dhritarashtra asked, okay, but why after 50 lives? So Lord Krishna explained, for getting one son, you need to do so much of pious activities. For begetting 100 sons, you have to accumulate so many pious activities. So that much of pious activities took 50 lifetimes. So though Lord Krishna gives us opportunities, there's also something called as Sukriti. So based on our intention, the Lord Krishna chooses the right time when we also gives us the opportunity to come into Krishna consciousness. Now, the reason when the opportunity is given, why we take and why we don't take, it is, I would say that it is a play of the free will, which is given by Lord Krishna. At the end of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Yata ichchasi tata kuru, to Arjuna. Now I have told you everything, so you use your intelligence and do what you want. So the Lord has given us that limited intelligence. Why the Lord has given us that intelligence is that He wants us to come to His shelter out of our own free will. He doesn't want to hold a gun to our head and then come to come to Krishna consciousness, or you will die. No, He wants to come on our own. So that free will we need to use in taking a right decision. So that right decision we will take in the association of devotees sooner or later. We may not take sooner, but we may take later. That is the reason why it is necessary to be in the association of devotees, whether outwardly we are progressing or not. Because the opportunity which we get now, which we are not taking due to our not using the intelligence in the right way, we will definitely take a good decision later if we are in the association of devotees. That's the reason, whether outwardly, whether we seem as progressing or not, being in the association of devotees is very, very important. That is a key to progress, and then use the opportunity and then take the right decision. The Patri Prabhu, who is the president of ISKCON Kathmandu, he was asked the same question in one of his satsang, he used to say that, yes, the Lord gives many opportunities and sometimes we don't use it. But as in Krishna conscious and devotional service, our main thing is that we should understand that we are inside a well. And outside the well, we have Lord Krishna and his disciplic succession. A person who is inside the well, he cannot come out on his own. He or she cannot come out on his own. There's a rope into the well. He or she has to catch the rope, and then somebody from outside has to pull the rope. So that somebody from outside is our Dam Laga Ke Aisa, our spiritual master. After spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. After Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Vinod Saraswati Thakur. Then the six Goswamis, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the way up to Lord Krishna. They are all pulling the rope. Dam Laga Ke Aisa. Then all we need to do is just hold the rope. When we hold the rope, we will gradually come out of the well. So to use the opportunities given by Lord Krishna in the right way, the first thing is that we need to get the intelligence, we need to get the purity to use the intelligence to make the right decision. For that, the main thing to be is to be in the association of devotees and follow their instructions. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Very nice explanation. Thank you.
प्रभु आप बहुत अच्छा बोलते हैं और आपका pronunciation of the shlokas are very, very good.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Krishna's mercy.
Prabhu, your lecture was excellent. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Wonderful class, like always. Not
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
So please keep coming. We would all like to have your association and knowledge being shared with us on a regular basis.
Thank you, Prabhu. So as I said earlier, so this is a TTL, Teach to Learn. So each and every time we share any message of Lord Krishna, so we also learn as much. So yeah, so let us keep bringing more and more devotees into the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I'll end the class now.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.